Hello and welcome to 2026 Open Day Countdown, a series where we're counting down to Open Day by previewing all three teams that will be. Yesterday we spoke about the Detroit Tigers, and today we'll be talking about the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians are the first team we'll be covering that actually won the division last year. Last year they finished with a record of 80 and 74, first place in AL Central, but they still ended up in the wildcard series and they lost in 3 games to the Detroit Tigers, so a little bit disappointing given where they ended up to end the season, but they're still a pretty talented team. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the offense isn't too great. Jose Ramirez is really their only impact bet. Last year had a 133 Darcy plus and a 129 Beefa plus. But if you look at it based on the matchup, the between splits, I mean, they do have like more guys who are good against righties, and then a few guys who are good against lefties. Although against lefties, they're not too great of an offense. Only 3 guys who are above average. Jose Ramirez, who we just talked about, Cam Manzardo, who was sort of used as a platoon, strong side platoon guy, but he was good against lefties as well. Like down the stretch, he was used against both lefties and righties, and that's part of the reason why the Guardians made it into the playoffs. But yeah, like they do have a few guys who are also like strong side platoon splits, like not just Manzardo, but also Bo Naylor, who was pretty good last year. Well, pretty good like for a catcher, like 96 RC plus is sort of average for a catcher, but Beefle plus 107 against righties, like that, he's someone that I think like take a step forward as sort of like a strong side platoon bat as a catcher, but I think he will end up playing every day at catcher just because like their backup Austin Hedges, he's more of like the bat isn't there, but he is very good defensively, so he's like very good backup in my opinion. Yeah, so Bo Naylor at catcher is all right. And Manzardo at first base, and then they also signed Reese Hoskins at sort of on like sort of minor league deal. I don't really know what to make of him. Like they do have like a few guys who can fill that first place DH role, but Hoskins is like one of the better options, obviously. Like above average by Darvish plus, pretty much average by Beaver plus, or slightly above. So I do think Hoskins will definitely factor in as an everyday in the lineup. Like also not only that, Hoskins, well 96 Beaver plus against righties, but still like one of their better hitters against righties, and then against lefties. Again, where is he? 118. So yeah, he's a very good hitter against lefties, like solid against righties. They do have some guys who could probably platoon with him at DH, but Kafis and Valera, and those two aren't as good against righties, even though like by WC plus they were better last year, by Beefy plus they were worse. So I think Hoskins will be the everyday DH. But yeah, there isn't like that much hitting talent on this roster, but they do have a couple of guys coming up through the pipeline from AAA. One of them is Chase Lauder, who actually played for him in the playoffs. Like he made his MLB debut against the Tigers in the playoffs. He played a little bit at AAA, mostly due to injury, but he posted 131 Darcy plus there, and more importantly, he had a 155 BFIP plus. So that bat that should at least translate well to major league pitching. And then another guy who I think should be on opening roster is Travis Pizzana. At AAA, he had a 139 Darcy plus and 147 BFIP plus. And those two guys, Dullara and Bizarno, if you can get both of those guys on the roster pretty quickly and they can make an impact, then your lineup looks a lot better than this, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I have for the hitting on how much talent, but again, like some guys coming up through the pipeline. Onto the pitching. Usually the pitching is like their strength. It wasn't too great last year, but down the stretch it was much better. Like Gavin Williams, I believe he was not great in the first half, better in the second half, similar with Tanner Bybee, I think, and also Drake Cantillo, and then also you had Parker Messick, who you called up down the stretch. I'm going to start with Messick. He had a 2.72 ERA last year, 2.88 BFIP. It was only a small sample, like only 7 starts, so I don't expect him to pitch to this level. But I do still expect him to pitch to an above average level. Like at AAA, he made 20 starts, almost 100 innings. He had a 3.47 ERA and a 3.53 BFIP. So that should translate to at least average, maybe even above average production at a major league level. So I think he should be factor into the big league rotation. Vic Cantillo is a guy who guys are really high on this offseason. He gets a ton of strikeouts. Walks a little bit high, but not that much compared to the strikeouts. Doesn't give that much hard contact. Last year had a 3.29 ERA and 3.40 BFIP, mostly in a longer relief role, as you can see based on the game's pitch. But this year he's expected to be slotted into the rotation. So he's definitely someone who could gain a ton of value this year if he can sustain this level of production through 150 innings, let's say. And then round of rotation, well, not necessarily round of rotation, like Vibe and Williams, they're like those top end guys. Well, not necessarily top end, but like top end of rotation for the Guardians. Those two pitch a ton of innings, like 182 for Bybee, 167 for Williams, but the BFIP wasn't too great, like essentially average. Again, ERA for Bybee is also average. Williams is a guy who had a very good ERA last year, but peripherals were not high on him, so like he's probably someone that I think will regress. But Bybee and Williams just like pretty good arms at the top of rotation. And then you have Logan and Ciccone, two more like average, well, two below average arms who can eat innings and are sort of competing for the back end of the rotation. So onto the bullpen. The Guardians have a nice bullpen. Like they had Clase last year, who, like, obviously, like he's not with the team anymore due to the gambling allegations. But Cade Smith has stepped in to essentially be, in my opinion, like one of the best relievers in baseball. 2.93 ERA last year, but BFIP a 188. You don't really see a sub 2 BFIP that often. Like there's only like a few different guys I can think of at the top of my head who posted a sub 2 BFIP last year. And also all the peripherals agree like he's a very great arm. Worst is XFIP 265, and even XFIP I'm not too hot keen on, to be honest. Yeah, very good arm. Should be the closer and should be one of the best closers in baseball. Eric Sabrowski, another Canadian. Cade Smith and Sabrowski, both Canadians. Love to see that. Sabrowski, ton of walks, but ton of strikeouts, doesn't give that much damage. 184 ERA, but BFIP 317. Like, he's still a good arm, but he's not going to pitch this up to ERA again. He's also lefties, like he's one of those guys who can put in against lefties, but he's also good against righties as well. So Sabrowski, solid arm in that bullpen. Matt Festa, another arm. Like ERA was pretty much average last year, but all the peripherals are high on him. So like he's definitely someone who should like bounce back. 331 BFIP. I think he's probably like closer to the BFIP than the ERA next year. Like he's sort of like, I think like cutter slider sort of makes it, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Festa, another good arm. Armstrong they added this last season, one of their few additions. Very good ERA last year, very good BFIP, another good arm in that bullpen. And Hunter Gaddis, he's sort of like their 8th inning guy. 311 ERA last year, 369 BFIP, still an above average arm, though may not pitch to his ERA next year. So yeah, that's what I have for the pitching. Onto the projected lineups. I catch have Bo Naylor every day. Like again, Bo Naylor, like overall he was sort of average, but he was definitely better against righties. 107 BFIP plus against lefties. Not as great, only an 89. So I think you can consider platooning Hedges with Naylor, and I think that's what Fangraphs Lost Resource has for those two. Like they have those two in a platoon where Naylor's on the strong side, Hedges on the weak side. But I think based on the if you look purely on office, I think Bo Naylor should be the everyday guy. But if you factor in defense, it sort of depends like how much better defensively do you think House Hedges is. I think Bo Naylor's still good defensively, so that's why I have him in every day. But if you think Hedges like so much better defensively that you can take the hit offensively, then you can platoon in against lefties, and I wouldn't mind that. First base, Kyle Manzardo. He was platoon again for most of the year last year. Like against lefties, he only 95 play appearances across 67 games, but down the stretch he was getting starts against lefties, and according to BFIP plus 118, like he's definitely someone who should be playing against lefties. So that's why I have him in the lineup every day. Second base, Travis Bazzana. Third base, Jose Ramirez. Like, don't really need to talk about these two guys. Like, Jose Ramirez, like, best bet in their lineup, no doubt. And then Bazzana, former first overall pick. Hopefully, he hits well, like, out of the gate. But if he starts here at AAA, then there's a good chance that he plays his way into the big leagues soon. So, second and third, Bazzana Ramirez. Shortstop, Gabriel Arias. You could also go Rocchio, I guess, but Rocchio wasn't that great defensively last year. So and also like Gabriel Arias is like the primary shortstop, better defensively. Hitting wise, they're about the same. Like against righties, Arias was better, 81 versus 97 on the BFIP plus side, and against lefties, let me find them. Roku was better, 65 versus 54. But when you're constructing a lineup, you sort of want to optimize it against righties for your starting lineup because I'd say about 3/4 of the starting pitchers are righties. So that 3/4 of the time, your starting lineup should be will be facing a righty. That's why Gabriel Arias is in there, and also like he's a better defender, so like he should be in there. So, yeah. In the outfield, have Steven Kwan, Chase Lauder, and Steven Kwan left, CF platoon of Lauder, Angel Martinez, and right field platoon of Nolan Jones and Jonathan Rodriguez. So Kwan, of course, like everyday bat, like it was actually that great last year, like 99 WC plus, 95 BFIP plus. Like, but he still had good strikeout and walk rates. Like his issue is he doesn't give hit for that much power. So I'm not really sure like what to like how to feel about him. Just because like from a real life perspective, like obviously like he's an average hitter, but let's say like from a fantasy, like he's not really getting hit many home runs. He's still on bases, like not getting too many. It's like not really sure what there isn't like as much value from a fantasy perspective. But, like also like real life, like he's also very good defender and left. Like every single year he's been in the big leagues, he's won a Gold Glove. So he's definitely should be someone who should be in the lineup every day. And also like the offense again, like as you see, like not that great. Like 183 BFIP plus against lefties, but that's still like the seventh best. Like their seventh best hitter against lefties. So Juan has to be in the lineup every day, in my opinion. Center field is a platoon of Delata and Martinez. Now this is what Rossi Rizos has for them, but I think that Delata will get platoon. But the thing is, like, if you look at Delata's splits at AAA, against righties he had a 761 OPS, but against lefties he had an 1116 OPS, which is a small sample. I get it, but he was much better against lefties. So I think you can make the argument that Delata should be playing every day instead of being platoon. Angel Martinez, like he's one of the better hitters against lefties. Like 123 WC plus, like not is great, but like 91 BFIP plus, like not as great. And like similar to Jonathan Rodriguez, like good WC plus, bad BFIP plus. But Angel Martinez in particular, although he can't play center field, he can also play second base. So the reason why that is important is because Dizon is also a lefty. So let's say Delata shows he can handle lefties, but Bizarro doesn't, then you can platoon Martinez at second base instead of center field, and also like just sort of you can sort of like alternate between center field and second base to see like who's doing better against lefties, and then that's where you can choose where Martinez goes. So in right field, I have Nolan Jones and Jonathan Rodriguez. So Nolan Jones last year he was pretty bad overall. 72 WRC plus and 88 BFIP plus. Like you don't really want that, obviously, and also like defensively he wasn't the best either. Though he was like okay, he does have a great arm. We look at the splits against righties. He's actually like league average against righties according to BFIP plus, even though WRC plus is a bit lower. Because like even though strikeouts is high but not crazy high, but then he's also drawing his walks a ton and also hitting for a bit of power too. So yeah, that's why he's essentially like league average against righties. But against lefties, obviously like very bad hitter, 36 WRC plus, 38 BFIP plus. So you want to platoon him, and then that's why I have Jonathan Rodriguez in that platoon. He'll be playing against lefties. For Nolan Jones, you can also go with like CJ Kayfis or George Valera. And Kayfis and Valera, those two were like better by WC plus last year, but BFIP plus like little bit lower on them, so that's why I sort of went with Jones. And also like the AAA numbers for them. Kayfis 135 WC plus, but only a 108 BFIP plus. Valera a 114 WC plus, but only a 92 BFIP plus. So those aren't going to translate the best to the big leagues. Like they're probably going to be like 80 to 90, and you can sort of see that with Kayfis and Valera, like 80 to 90 essentially. That's why I have Jones as the strong side platoon right fielder. And then DH, Reese Hoskins, like he's a bat that should be in the lineup every day. Like he's one of their few above average bats. Against righties, he's again 96 BFIP plus, so not the best, but like still like better than a lot. Like you count it, it's eighth best, but Halpin only 7 play appearances. Like Schneemann, like I'm not like Schneemann also like the guy that probably should be in this roster, but there isn't like much space for him with the platoons and also like Brian Rocchio. Like if you don't, if you're not high on Rocchio, like you can definitely like take him out and put in Schneemann. I don't mind that, but Rocchio doesn't have options, so if you want to get rid of him, you have to DFA him, and I don't think the Guardians will be doing that. So, yeah. Us at DH. For the pinch staff, I actually went with a 6-man rotation, but I do think eventually, like by the start of the year, it probably will be a 5-man rotation. Like Bybee, Williams, and honestly, like Messick probably as our locks. Like I think Bybee and Williams are the only 2 locks because like Messick, he's projected to be starting the year at AAA, but I think he should be in the big league. So then it becomes like which of Cantillo, Ciccone, and Allen are like moving to Penn or like moving to AAA or like just like maybe or just like going with a 6-man. Like Cantillo has the most like reliever experience, so maybe you go with him as a long reliever. But in my opinion, like probably like Ciccone or Logan Allen. Like if we look at the numbers, like Ciccone and Allen are two like they're two like below average arms. Like ERA was similar, like everything was pretty similar. But I think if it's probably gonna be Allen just because like Ciccone has been good so far this spring, Allen not so great. So if I had to pick one, probably Logan Allen to option or move to long relief. Again, closer K Smith, one of the best arms in baseball. Like again, like sub 2 BFIP, it's very hard to find that. And then Gaddis and Zabowski in a setup man. Gaddis again, like he's fine. Like probably not gonna pitch his low 3 ERA, but like probably closer to his 3.69 BFIP, but still above average arm. And then Zabowski also a very good arm, though. I think like because like the free pass is like pretty crazy. Like you can, it's possible that he performs like above this, but I still think he's a very good leverage arm because he's also the only lefty in here. Like everybody else here are righties. So when you have like one lefty in the bullpen, you're gonna need like him to pitch some high leverage innings. So if Logan Allen doesn't like move to long relief, he's also a lefty. If you option him, then you can probably go with Tim Herron in the bullpen, who's also a lefty. Though Herron also like ton of free passes. So yeah, the Guardians like don't really have like a great elite like lefty option. Although Zabowski I really like. He's not like I wouldn't say he's elite to be honest. But to round out the bullpen, Sean Armstrong, who they part his offseason, Matt Festa, Connor Brogdon, and also Peyton Pallette. Pallette I want to touch on because he was pretty solid at AAA. Uh, he had a 436 ERA, like wasn't the best. 420 BFIP, not the craziest either, but it's still better than the AAA average. And also, he has very good stuff as a righty. It's I believe it's like fastball, slider, curveball, if I remember correctly. And he was like the Rule 5 pick this offseason, and also just just like a very good arm that you can like take some upside shot on because unless you otherwise you're going with Brogdon or Herron or Golderman. I'm not really too confident on either of those guys, like any of those three. So Paulette, like good stuff. Like it's gonna be a low leverage role, so like it's not too much pressure, but I think he's someone who could probably stick in that bullpen. Yeah, onto the win projections. Like Jose Ramirez is your top end guy. Projected for 6 wins, like 6 wins last year, 7 the year before, 4 in 2023. So he's obviously like projected for a ton of wins. But other than that, like not too many guys projected for a ton of wins. Like Steven Kwan, he's up there because of his defense. Like he missed a better time in 2024, so he's probably closer to 4 WAR. But yeah, it's like 3.5 is still like pretty close. Kind of Bybee, K Smith, only other guys above 2s, and everybody else is like below 2 wins. And a lot of these guys are relievers like Gaddis, Armstrong, Kobe Allard, who I think is actually hurt and then Matt Festa as well. And then Kentillo, he was a reliever last year, but will be a starter, so that will affect his win projection. So as for the overall team projection, it's 75 and 87, so not that great. They're one of those teams that usually tends to overperform their projections, and let's say Pilar and Bizarna perform well, and let's say like Kentillo takes that step up or Messick takes that step up, then obviously like they're gonna get more wins. But it's very hard to see them like making a deep run, or even like it's also like very hard to see them like making the playoffs just because there's so many teams ahead of them who made more additions this last season. Like this example, like the Rangers made some additions, Orioles, A's, Royals, Royals of course in the same division. So the Guardians like not they're pretty far back from all of those teams. Well, not too far back, but like still like 5 wins is like pretty substantial. So it's definitely like gonna be hard to see them like moving up the standings and overcoming those projections and making the playoffs. But there's definitely a chance because like they have like a ton of young talent, lots of variants on that roster that could help them this year. So yeah, that's what I have for the Guardians. Thank you for watching and goodbye.